Alright, Ronan MMA, welcome back to the channel. Now, one of the more entertaining things that happened at UFC 296 was the altercation with Sean Strickland and Dricus Du Plessis, and I kind of want to talk a little bit about it. Now, I want to start from the beginning at the seasonal press conference, which is where this all began, truly. Then I want to just talk about the brawl a little bit. I'll give my opinion on it and whatever. And then after that, I want to touch on one question asked by a media member that I don't want to see that media member ever asking questions again, because it's those kind of people that could potentially ruin the future of the sport. Now, as I said, we will start at the seasonal press conference, and immediately I'll just say thank God for Sean Strickland and Dricus Du Plessis, because without them, that press conference would have been a dud. It would have been completely and totally uneventful. I always used to give Sean O'Malley the benefit of the doubt when it came to his inability to use a microphone, okay, because I always thought, well, he cuts a lot of weight. He usually looks like shit by Friday. He's probably not feeling all that good Thursday. He probably doesn't feel that great Wednesday either. Maybe he's just dehydrated, docile, tired, whatever, and he can't really muster up the energy to trash talk, right? But that's not the case, dude, because he's not cutting weight here, right? And he's got no excuse. Marlon Chito Vera's English is his second language, right? Sean O'Malley, born and raised in America, can't talk shit for the life of him, right? Alexander Volkanovski, that's not why anybody loves him. We love him for completely different reasons. Not because he's overly entertaining on a microphone. Ilia Topuria, speaking Spanish the whole time, even his trash talk that got translated incorrectly wasn't that great, so again, thank God for Sean Strickland and Dricus Du Plessis. Otherwise, this press conference would have been shit, okay? Now, and it didn't even start off like that, by the way, either. They were relatively cordial until Sean Strickland just pointed out, we're fighting in a month, we don't need to be friends, and he started going after Dricus Du Plessis. Now, he started going after Dricus Du Plessis. Dude, the center of his, the whole theme of his trash talk was essentially to call Dricus Du Plessis gay, okay? He was making fun of him and making comments about his coach grabbing his cup. He was making comments like, don't be making out in between rounds because you're going to distract me. Like, let's have a good, clean fight and shit like that. He dropped the slang term for cigarette a couple of times, loudly and proudly, which I'll say this also, dude. I am glad that people are taking that word back, because it was never meant the way people acted as though it was meant, okay? That word could be replaced or substituted with any other insult, or at the very least, that's how it was used when I was a child. If I wanted to call you an idiot, I would just call you that instead, okay? Because it's just got a certain sting to it. It just sounds good, okay? So I don't care if you're offended by it. I'm glad that we're taking that word back, and, we went years without hearing it uttered by any fighter ever. And then in 2023, not even in 2023, in the final half of 2023, from September onwards, we hear guys dropping it left and right, and it is fucking awesome, dude, okay? Regardless, Sean Strickland goes after him for that, and it was kind of all good and fun, and it was whatever. But Dricus Du Plessis fires back with, in my opinion, a piece of genius trash talk. Now,
don't worry about that. You're gonna get fucking finished that night. Your coach got you.
Bro, why are you so angry? Bro, you think your dad beat the shit up you? Your dad doesn't have shit on me. I'm gonna show you what it's like to beat you. I mean, every childhood memory you have is gonna come back when I'm in there with you. Every single one, the one where you lie in bed at night, where your dad comes in and he beats the shit out of you.
I will take your fucking soul. You understand me, you fucking pussy?
That's not me making a judgment call on it. I will tell you what I think of it after, but what I mean by it was a genius piece of trash talk is he definitely got the reaction that he wanted out of Sean Strickland. I will say it was a little bit of a low blow, right? The same way that Colby Covington going after Leon's dead dad was a low blow. Although I see a lot less people have an issue with what Dricus said than what Colby said, but regardless, it was a little bit of a low blow. Although Sean Strickland has kind of made his horrible childhood like the center of his personality. He talks about it openly everywhere in public. He's spoken about it on Food Truck Diaries. He spoke about it at length on the Joe Rogan Experience. He talks about it everywhere. He always brings it up. And he makes fun of it himself, right, on occasion, which I understand is like a coping mechanism, perhaps, but I was a little stranged out, or a little weirded out, whatever the fuck, I don't know why I said it like that, but I was a little weirded out that Sean Strickland was so, like, appalled or taken back or surprised that something that he brings up himself constantly in public would be then used against him by an opponent. Like, I thought, it's only a matter of time before somebody goes at him for that shit. Do you know what I mean? You thought it might have been Israel Adesanya after the shit he took from Sean Strickland, but he didn't go after him for that. But, you know, so while I do think it was a bit of a low blow, I feel as though Strickland, it's like a little bit to blame because he's made it such a point of interest and talks about it so frequently and openly in public. And I didn't expect him to get that worked up over it, if I'm being honest. But when Dricus Du Plessis was finishing that line with, I think it was something along the lines of, every bad childhood memory you've ever had is going to come back to you when you're in there with me. Dude, Sean Strickland looked like he fucking tweaked out, like he had been smoking meth beforehand. When he wears a white t-shirt, that man is Trevor from GTA 5, okay? He fucking tweaked out. And then he started screaming at Du Plessis, telling him he's going to take his soul and all this shit. Du Plessis says, you have a 33% finish rate, you ain't going to finish me, blah, 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 blah. All this shit. And Sean Strickland goes, don't worry, if I don't finish you, your coach will finish you in the back. That's what they're used to. Go fuck your coach, you cigarette, whatever, dude. Going at him hard. Like, that set something off in Sean Strickland. And what I want to say is this, too. That probably was the reaction Dricus Du Plessis wanted. Or at the very least, when he got it, he was probably like, ooh, I fucking got him there. However, some fighters, I don't think that it's smart to do that to, dude. Okay? Now, sometimes it works in your favor, and the obvious example is Conor McGregor, Jose Aldo, right? But then even Khabib handled Conor's trash talk completely differently. Dustin Poirier handled Conor's trash talk completely differently. So it's very dependent on who your opponent is. And for some reason, when I was listening to this press conference early Saturday morning, I thought to myself, I don't think Sean Strickland would go in there and fight any differently than he would otherwise, because I think he wants to beat you. You know what I mean? But what I thought is when you piss a guy off like that, who's that fucking insane, it's not that he's going to change his demeanor, his reactions, he's not, you know, in the cage. It's what's going to happen outside. Like, what happens if you see him at Walmart? That guy's going to fucking attack you because he's a psycho. That's what I thought, okay? Which leads us to, or brings us to, UFC 296, all right? Dana White takes full responsibility for seating these two that close to each other, but whatever, dude. It's all good. We got a piece of promotion out of it. And that's for sure what the fuck it's going to be used as, because they showed us the clip during the UFC 296 broadcast. Okay. The camera pans to each of them in one of the breaks. Du Plessis running his mouth. Sean Strickland turns around, fires a finger gun at him. Du Plessis continues to run his mouth. I couldn't tell what I was saying, or what he was saying, pardon me, but Gilbert Burns' wife has came out since then, and she was right fucking there, saying that Dricus Du Plessis was calling Sean Strickland to come fight him right then and there. I just don't think that he thought Sean Strickland would oblige him, but he did, and this is what I'm talking about. He may not fight differently or act differently in the fucking cage. But if you see him at Walmart, or if you see him anywhere in public for that matter, he'll probably attack you because he's a psycho. And unlike most people, I don't think Sean Strickland doesn't even need to have alcohol in him to get that to do that kind of shit. Do you know what I mean? He'll just do it because it's fun and he wants to hurt you now, right? So, Sean Strickland jumps over the railing, goes and attacks Dricus Du Plessis, but not before he asks the women and children to move, which, you know, it's a bit of a meme at this point, but I will say I did appreciate it because they could have potentially gotten hurt, right? So, very gentlemanly of him. Attacks Dricus Du Plessis, smashing him in the back of the head with shots. Dricus Du Plessis trying to go for a takedown. I think Sean Strickland kind of lost balance because there was a bunch of chairs behind him. Security got involved pretty quick. Brendan Allen's right there. Du Plessis trying to grab onto him to get going forward and all this shit. Craziness, right? It got broken up relatively quickly. And thankfully, And this is the only reason I don't like this kind of shit. Thankfully, before anything bad happened that would lead us to not having that fight in a month's time, right? That's the only reason I don't like it. If it was a civilian, or, I mean, it's goofy to say that, but if it was a non-professional fighter that Sean Strickland just attacked like that in the stands, I would have a completely different tone when I'm talking about this situation here, right? But it's him and Dricus Du Plessis. And if Dricus Du Plessis was actually telling him to come fucking fight, I mean, you can't be all that surprised that the absolute lunatic that you fucking triggered badly yesterday attacks you, right? The only reason I don't like it when it's between two fighters is because we might not get the fight that we were promised, right? And if it hadn't gotten broken up as quickly as it did, or even when it did, if Sean Strickland had smashed his skull on the fucking concrete or on the ground, right, that could have been a problem. If Sean Strickland cut Dricus Du Plessis when he was landing shots when he first jumped over, that could have been a problem. There was a whole bunch of shit that could happen where we wouldn't end up getting to see the fight. So that's really the only problem I have with this situation here. As I said, if he was attacking a random person, I would have a completely different tone. But because it was two fighters that are gonna fight in a month, right? It's whatever, dude. Same way with the trash talk. It's fucking whatever, dude. Do you know what I mean? Now, and also, it's a bit different than like when Conor McGregor goes and throws a dolly in a bus full of fighters, right? Sean Strickland's was a direct, like, localized attack. I'm attacking Dricus Du Plessis and only Dricus Du Plessis. I'm not smashing glass so that Ray Borg can get his eye cut, Michael Chiesa, like all this shit, right? So it's you know, it wasn't great, but as far as shit like this goes, it wasn't all that bad. Now, at the post-fight press conference for UFC 296, I wanted to do this in a separate video, but I didn't think it was worth it. I didn't think I would have enough to say about it, so I just wanted to include it in this one. There was a question that a reporter asked Dana White, and unfortunately, I don't know who this reporter was by name. I didn't recognize their voice, because I would love to call them out, because it's these kind of reporters, in my opinion, that could eventually be the downfall of the UFC as a company, and you know, lead it into a direction like other professional sports, which I just really don't want to happen. So, Dana White's obviously getting asked about this altercation at the post-fight press conference. He takes full responsibility for it, says, I sat them beside each other, I'm in charge of the seating assignments, stupid, I know, whatever, blah, 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 blah. The reporter asks him whether or not there would be any legal repercussions. Dana White says, no, they're fighters who are fighting in a month, they're at the fights, and they got in a fight. I mean, the police have better shit to do, basically. The follow-up question is what I have a fucking problem with, okay?
Completely different.
Then one more thing about the Strickland incident. There were some police officers that were involved kind of breaking it up. To your knowledge, was there any sort of legal issues?
No.
No.
No. I'm sure the police got better shit to do than, you know, I mean, two guys who are going to fight here in a month getting into a, you know, skirmish here at a fight.
And when it gets physical like that, would you ever consider fining? I'm not talking about the trash talk and stuff, but in terms of actually, like...
No. It's my job to make sure that stuff doesn't happen. If I wasn't an asshole, those two wouldn't have been sitting next to each other. It blows my mind that I let that slip. It just blows my mind. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Dana, right back.
He goes, well, do you ever consider handing out fines for things like this to Sean Strickland or whoever gets in altercations like this? I'll play the clip, but that's a summary. Horrible fucking question. Don't let that guy ever come back. He should not be reporting on fucking MMA or and specifically the UFC. Get fucking rid of him, okay, dude? We don't need that kind of shit here. And you know, I catch a lot of shit in some of my videos for being too pro Dana White, being too pro UFC. This is fucking why, though, because Dana White said no without hesitation, okay? When Dana White's gone and we've got somebody else in control of this company, especially when you look at who owns ESPN and things like that, we could potentially see this sport get taken in the direction of an NBA, of an NFL, of an NHL, or any of those fucking bullshit organizations. It's fine if you like to watch the sports. I totally get it, dude. I don't want I don't want the athletes, the fighters that I like to watch, having to take a knee, like, are obligated to take a fucking knee, are obligated to come out and apologize about some things that they may or may not have said about China. Come out and have to fucking apologize and get fined for retweeting a documentary that was on fucking Amazon. Do you know what I mean? This kind of shit really drives me crazy. Now, luckily, the fighters are in a bit of a weird situation where they are independent contractors, right? So they're not at, like, when Sean Strickland's at the event, he's not really at work. Now, he's kind of representing the UFC because he is the UFC's middleweight champion, but he's not at work, you know? Dana White doesn't go up to them and be like, be on your fucking best behavior, don't do this shit, you have to do this, this, and this, and all this, whatever. They're kind of like, it's just fucking different, dude. I don't want to see that kind of shit happen here, because we see guys in the NBA get screwed over, fined, suspended, have to come out and apologize for speaking their mind, which is insane considering the NBA is a fucking American company, okay? Happens in the NFL also. Happens in the NHL also. There were guys in the NHL that were outspoken during the last 3 or 4 years, 2020 to 2023. They got fined and suspended over this shit. We don't fucking want this shit. And that reporter, I wish I knew who it was, should never even utter those words. There are content creators that are fans of the UFC or fans of the sport, or at the very least they claim to be, that actually advocate for this shit, like the progressive retarded ogre, okay, who's got more than a couple chromosomes to spare. He thinks that like guys like Jamal Hill, for getting in a domestic situation, should be fined, when that has nothing to do with their fight career. Like, enough with that shit. They're fighters. They got in an altercation. Nobody got seriously injured. It wasn't that big of a deal. Some mean words were exchanged before. Like, these guys are different than other athletes. Do you know what I mean? They are athletes, but they're also not at the same time. You ever see guys in the NBA get in a fucking fight, dude? They look like pussies, okay? These guys, it's just different. So fuck off with that shit. Don't be asking Dana White to hand out fines. And again, I'm very glad that Dana White is here for the time being, because he, without hesitation, shot that shit down. Because why would I? Another point just before I go. If you got a guy like Steph Curry, who's making $50 million a year, or Kyrie Irving, right? And you fine him $250,000, it's like fucking whatever to them, right? When you find a guy like Dricus Du Plessis or a guy like Sean Strickland $250,000, that might be a quarter of their fight purse. Do you know what I mean? Fuck off with that shit. Anyways, dude, that's my thoughts on the whole Sean Strickland Dricus Du Plessis situation. And I'll say this: it's much more. It honestly made the fight more exciting. Because now there is animosity. Now there are the questions: will Sean be able to keep his emotions in check? Now there is all that. So, you know, while it was shitty that it happened, I'm glad that it did, honestly. So fuck it, dude. I can't wait for that fight. And yeah. Anyways, dude, like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. I'll see you at the next video. Bye-bye.